and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Sorry about the change in venue. Both Gray and Gloucester made us persona non grata tonight, so we had to make do, especially with all the visitors. We like to be on camera, so we've got the camera going. So remember that the owl in the middle is what's picking up our audio, and try to use your best stage voice as you are addressing us all. Appreciate anybody's help in that. Our upcoming meetings, we've got Personnel and Finance Committee meetings in the central office on May 8th at 5:30 and 6:30 respectively. We have a Curriculum Committee meeting on May 15th right here in the library at 5:30. Remember that on May 16th, a rare Thursday meeting for the school board, we have our town meeting and budget validation vote at 6:30 p.m. in the high school cafetorium. As a refresher, any registered voter from Gray and Gloucester is welcome there at the town meeting. It is where we set the articles that we are going to put on the ballot in June. Then on May 22nd, we have a policy committee meeting at 5:30 p.m. That's right here in the library. I reserve the right, if we need an extra meeting, to have one on May 29th, because I've got an extra Wednesday, and then we'll have our last meeting on first Wednesday in June of the calendar school year. All right, any additions or adjustments to the agenda? All right, seeing none. Are there any comments from the audience? Anybody wants? Got 3 minutes. You're all here anyway. Don't you have anything to talk about? Nolan? You want to talk about the baseball team or anything? How great we are? No? All right. Okay, you've all had your opportunity. Can I hear a motion on the meeting minutes of the April 3rd business meeting?
I move we accept as printed the minutes of the April 3rd, 2024 regular business meeting. Second.
All right, any discussion, any fixes we need to make to those? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? All right. How about that April 24 meeting?
I move we accept as printed the minutes of the April 2024 business meeting. Second.
Any adjustments we need to make there? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Excellent, thanks so much. With that out of the way, we will move into the recognition part of the agenda. Do we have anything on that part of the agenda?
Yes, we have
Excellent.
the graduating class of 2024 top 10%. And as is tradition, we invite them all to introduce themselves, tell them what their future plans are, and wish them well on their way to graduation.
All right, you guys ready to rock and roll? Let's do it. You got an order picked down? That's excellent. All right, right there. That is perfect. Follow directions.
Hello, my name is Caitlin Sweeney. Next year I will be attending Cornell University, majoring in biological sciences on a pre-med track.
Awesome. My grandmother went to Cornell.
My name is Andrew Ketty. I'll be studying civil engineering at the University of Maine, Orono.
All right, let's go.
My name is Marco Perfetto. I will be going to Colby College, where I will go into a pre-law program, majoring in either economics or government.
You have to ask me? Right on.
My name is Ellie Steele. This fall, I will be attending Hudson University to participate in their accelerated physical therapy program to attain my doctorate.
Awesome.
My name is Carter Libby. I'll be studying economics at University of Maine and running Division I cross country track and field.
Excellent, fantastic.
My name is Ella Brown. I'll be attending the University of Southern Maine, majoring in nursing, and I'll be participating on the track team.
Great.
Hi, my name is Ellie Drew. I will be attending the University of Southern Maine, studying something in business, but I'm undecided.
That's great, you don't have to decide anyway. That's fantastic.
Hi, I'm Kylie Thibodeau. I will be attending Columbia University, where I will study economics and political science.
That's good, all right.
My name is Morgan Wilson, and I'm attending the University of Maine, and I'm going to be studying economics and mathematics.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Haley Mendel, and I'll be studying Spanish and International Affairs at Northeastern University.
Right on.
My name is Emily Wilson. I'll be studying marketing at the University of Maine at Warren.
My name is Anna Martin, and I will be attending the University of Maine Farmington to study elementary education.
Excellent. Make sure we keep your resume on file.
My name is Malia Lewis, and I will be studying biology and broadcast journalism at Syracuse University.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Stiles. Next year I'll be attending Sacred Heart University. I'll be majoring in health sciences and minoring in dance. I'm Kiara Martinez. I'll be attending the University of New England with an undecided major, and I'm also participating on the competitive cheer team.
I'm Sam Larrapie, and I will be attending the University of Maine at Orono, most likely in the survey engineering program, but not completely sure yet.
Excellent. Guys, I know that was minorly painful, but it makes my heart full to see you guys all doing so many amazing things. And I think I speak for all of us that it makes it a lot easier to do our job in the school board when we see all the awesome stuff that you guys are doing. So really appreciate you coming in tonight. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Good job. How you, Paul? Just stand it all by yourself. Thank you. Roll. You're right, you did it all yourself. Thanks, everybody, for coming in. Prepare your comments for next meeting. I expect 3 minutes at each. All right, let's move on with our agenda. Everybody. Sadie. Bye, kids. Yeah, I know. Oh, I got it. Let's pretend, let's see if this robotic's gonna show up. Alright, let's just see what happens. Let's move on to number 2, to nominate the following teachers for a continuing contract. Can I hear a motion?
I move we nominate the following teachers as listed on the agenda. I move we nominate the teachers included in item 2 on the agenda to a continuing contract for the 2024-2025 second half.
All right, any discussion on that, Greg? Anything you know?
No, I tried to put in, I know we have 3 or 4 board members. It's the first time we're doing this process. So first, it's 2 years of probationary for a teacher. And first year, those that we invite back are on that list, and that's what we're asking you to vote on. And then next year, they have a second year probationary status where they could support as a probationary teacher. And if they're successful that second year, we bring them back to you for continuing contribution.
As you've seen in these supporting materials, all of these have been recommended to us by the administration and the superintendent, so unless you have some secret knowledge. Any other discussion on it? All right, all in favor? Opposed? Oh, robotics is here. I knew it. Oh, not here.
They're not here.
Oh, they're not here.
Yes, there was confusion in scheduling, so she had the June.
Oh, she's not into June.
So she had the June meeting on, but I let her know we get back to her, but she apologizes.
June's fine.
Yeah, she was gonna try to call and get someone here today.
All right, we'll table.
She will get, yes, if we
We'll
can
table
table that,
item
that'd
one
be
for the
fantastic.
June meeting. We will get these robotics kids to show us their stuff soon. All right, can I hear a motion on the probationary contract?
Move we nominate teachers included in the printed agenda to a separate probationary contract. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you. Okay, this is exciting. This is what I was teasing in the last meeting. This agenda item. Good news. Let us hear about the new rankings from U.S. News and World Report. Dr. Turner and Ms. Good. Uh-oh.
Did I not press it?
Here we go. You probably start talking. There we go. Perfect. Again, we are very excited to be here to share this significant achievement that our school community has accomplished. As you're aware, the U.S. News and World Report recently released the annual ranking of schools across the state. And we are currently ranked 6th in the state, and that's out of 103 schools. And currently number 4 in the Portland, Southern Maine area high schools, which is out of 34 schools. So this achievement is definitely a testament of the dedication and hard work of our entire school community, from students to teachers, faculty, administrators, families, community members, and of course, you all as our school board. So we wanted to share, to take a moment we've been asked a few times on how they gather this data. The U.S. News calculated the best high schools based on students demonstrating outstanding outcomes and being above expectations in math, reading, science. The math and reading are NWEA assessments, the science state assessment, and then also how students score on the college level exams, and then graduation rates. As you can see, as a school, we're 88% in mathematics, and that's again as our overall school, not just one grade level. In comparison to the state's 80%. In reading, 86% for our school, and the state is at 80%. Science, we are average with the state at 40%. And this is the 6 indicators. I know Superintendent King kind of pushed out what those 6 indicators are. So I figured I'd just take a moment to sort of explain each one a little bit. Their college readiness, which is worth 30% of their overall rating. That is measured by the 12% of 12th graders who took and earned a qualifying score on an AP, which is advanced placement, or an international baccalaureate and IB exam. So they define a score that qualifies as a 3 or higher for AP exams and a 4 or higher for IB exams. The participation rate, so just because we have X amount of students participate, they score that at 25%, and then 75% is the quality. So again, that's if those students score, that's where that 75% comes. The college curriculum is based on the percentage of students who took multiple AP and or IB exams. So students who scored above average in all 4 content areas, which we had some that scored full 100%, And then students who qualify for 2 or 3 earned 50 or 75% towards that number. Then we have the state assessment proficiency, which is again our NWE data that we shared, and that is in comparison with other schools in our state. And then the one below, the state assessment performance, which is 20%, that is in comparison with who the schools at the US News predict that are in our demographic area within our state. So they look at schools throughout the state, select the ones that are similar to us, and that's how they get that score. They have the underserved student performance, and that's 10%. And that learning, it measures the outcomes among Black, Hispanic, and low-income students. And this evaluates how our subgroup scored on state assessments compared to schools in the state. And then our graduation rate. This was the cohort that they used for this particular data was the cohort that began in 2018 and graduated in 2022. All right, so the ones, as we were talking, we were trying to highlight kind of 4 key areas that got us to this point. One area that we want to highlight is the academic excellence. Our commitment as a school district to academic excellence is evident in our outstanding performance from our students overall. This is done through rigorous curriculum standards, innovative teaching methods, personalized support, and trying to create an environment where students can achieve to their full potential. And we also take pride at our high school at offering, in addition to a variety of levels of courses, many different programmings, from our Excel Alternative Ed program to PATHS, dual enrollment, early college, IB classes, just trying to make sure that there's something for every student in order to be successful. The second bullet is a dedicated staff, who our staff is constantly going above and beyond day in, day out to make sure that students feel successful in and out of the classroom. And they definitely are passionate about teaching and, again, that commitment to making sure that students have the opportunities needed. And the third one is student engagement and support. Again, to just make sure that we're doing everything we can to provide that supportive learning environment. Again, we do this through a variety of programs that I just listed, but also a variety of co-curricular activities through clubs, sports, just making sure that they have the opportunity to explore their interest and to develop those skills to be successful, again, beyond the classroom setting. We want to make sure that students feel valued and empowered to succeed. The last bullet is our community collaboration and just continuing to make sure that we have strong partnerships with parents, community members, local organizations who all, again, play a vital role in this ranking. So we also want to continue to make sure that we create the opportunities that benefit our students and that enhance the overall academic experience for all of our students. And these are just a couple future commitments that we, as a staff, have come about. After reading this data, we're always looking at ways, how can we improve? What can we do next year? Where are areas that we were strong in and where are areas that we could grow? And one is just to make sure that our lens continues on with the MSAD 15 vision and making sure that we are preparing our students for success, whether it's college, career, but just life beyond high school. Also continuing to increase daily attendance, as we know that students being present definitely has a major impact on their academic achievement. And just being committed to that continuous improvement and having those ongoing conversations as a staff, as a district. And again, I think this is something that can't be done without pre-K all the way through for staff as well.
My job is to share the part that Sadie Grealish would not, which is that we all should be very thankful to this lady right here. The reason we moved, a big part of the reason we moved up, there are lots of reasons. One of them is that after last year, when I thought we did very well, she went and dug in the data and said, okay, hold on. I think they don't totally have a great picture of what we're doing. I think there are pieces that they've missed. And she worked with that guy over there, Mr. Chris Galasso, to go research see where they were getting the data, making sure that data was super accurate. So the data that US News used this year is the most accurate picture they have ever had of our school district, and look what it did. So she chased that down, she took care of that. Another big factor here, something we've shared with you before, is around our state testing, our state assessment participation. We had a pretty significant issue here at the high school. We had very low participation for a couple of years. I will tell you, not just anecdotally, but by the data, it was not necessarily our kids who don't show up at school who weren't taking the test. We had a large group of some of what we would call our top performing students who are opting out of that test. So when we were looking at our state assessment data, it wasn't really a super accurate picture of how kids at this school are doing. So they, Sadie in particular, made a plan, worked with her staff. Their participation rate is darn close to 100% now. Kids take it seriously, but not too seriously. That's a super important balance. This is important. It's not life or death, but it's important. And they work really hard. And so again, I think these proficiency rates are some of the best pictures of how we are doing. So not only have we moved up, we've moved up as they've had like a much more accurate picture of who we are and what we do here. So Sadie deserves 99% of the credit for all of that. And then everyone here, of course, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but she will underplay her role. She should. This is yours.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Any questions or, oh yes, let's give them a round of applause. It's really something to hang our hats on. Just great to see the community get the third-party validation for what we already know. I think they've got us ranked 5 slots too low, but I'm sure we'll get there. We'll get there. I would rather go here than Greeley, I'll tell you that. So I'm not worried about number 6 in any way. I think that's fantastic. Any other thoughts or discussion for that? Go ahead, Penny.
Having looked at it ahead of time too, I would, in addition to this awesome stuff, also point out a point of pride that for our per pupil spending and the percentage of economically disadvantaged students we have, this is an extremely good value for a great education. So it's not even saying we're the best, but we spend the most and we have, the easiest pool to work with. So I think that's an additional feather in the cap.
Sure, I believe we spend the least per pupil in Cumberland County. That's not my check. That's not my check. So, not that that's a point of pride, but bang for the buck seems pretty good to me. Anything else? Go ahead, Adam.
How has the message been shared, like through the ranks all the way down through like pre-K, that we as a district, like, has everyone shared in the credit or had the same feeling that we get to have here, but you're probably the type to pass off credit, and that's like an important message to spread down. How is that? How do you guys?
Absolutely. So we have something ready to go for the entire district staff. Just again, like none of this is done in isolation. It's a whole. It's a district, all the way from kindergarten to pre-K of getting our students ready and moving up. So it's a district accomplishment and a community accomplishment.
So is that?
And that'll be sent out to district staff and then also to the community on Friday.
Okay.
We also had a little celebration on our admin team. Was that last week? That was last week. The weeks are together. We had a little celebration. Craig brought donuts, and we spent a little time sitting in. I know I probably shouldn't have said that out loud. My bad. They were apple grapes. But we did take a little time to sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labors before we got back to work.
Get you a number 6 for your office?
Yeah.
We're gonna get a reply.
That is terrific. That's true.
And it was nice just to see students being so proud, and even kind of just in staff, obviously being very proud. It was nice just to see everyone celebrating the collaborative success and efforts.
So is that something that's like advertised? Like there should be top that first. That should be everywhere. I'm just saying, if you want.
I know
I'd have it
Absolutely.
Pick up a banner, put it in the parade. Come on out, do it.
Is that a thing?
So US News and World is a media publication, so it goes out through their channels. Most of the news networks has picked up the list as a story. You can read stories. There was one in Bangor Daily News. They actually did a really nice job of kind of explaining how the whole system works, I thought. There have been, it's been on the news, but not necessarily about how we're doing, but about the list and kind of who were the top 5, who were the top 10 is what they tend to talk about the most. What you'll see in the different areas of the state, Bangor's talking about how the Bangor area schools did. But then we got a mention because they then mentioned who else in the state was doing well. Portland area, they're talking about how Portland did. And then they mention us. So we're definitely getting talked about in the news in a way maybe we haven't before. But that's sort of mostly how it goes. I will say there is some storytelling, right? Every list has its pros and its cons and its advantages and its disadvantages, and there are people who are very excited and there are people that feel they were treated unfairly. So there has been that narrative out in the community a little bit, but I really feel like the news stories has been how great we're doing as a state overall, but even just in Southern Maine and in our area.
And that's why I think it's important too to understand the percentages and how the scores are ranked, because again, they have accurate information for every single one of our rankings, which is not the case for many schools throughout the state. So I think that that's important to highlight all of that success because it is success. It's something to be proud of for sure.
And clearly the IB program is a big factor.
That is a significant.
It's really contributing to the college readiness. I can speak to my daughter's college readiness at the IB program, but I tell you that many of these top 10 kids we just heard from are in the IB program or are taking IB exams. It's clearly just the results speak for themselves. The schools that they're going to, it's radically different even than when I started on the board 9 years ago.
And they're not only taking the exams, like we said, the participation rate is they're actually showing in the performance. Very high level.
Very, very well.
Yeah.
All right, let's stop talking about how great we are and start talking about how great the adult education program is. You ready, Stephanie, for the next piece? Thank you guys so much for going through that for us.
Thank you.
Let's go. Let's hear a report from Ms. Haskins regarding the self-study of the adult education program. Come on down.
Do I need to share my screen?
You turn off the TV.
I turn off the TV.
Oh, yes.
That's not how we ran it. If I can get it together.
School library.
Just a little light green standard.
We'll let it go.
These are great.
Risk on meetings. All right, here we go.
All right, here we are. All right. Thank you, everyone, for having us here. My name is Stephanie Haskins, and I'm the Director of Adult Education. I've been here for, I think I'm on year 11. This is Maureen Mazer. She is one of our advisors and was on the committee to help develop the strategic plan. And she's actually been here longer than I have. She started as a volunteer at the front desk And then we learned of her superpowers as an advisor and college and career readiness, and immediately put her to work. So that was fantastic. So just a little bit of background information. Adult education became a funded program at MS-8015 in 1999. Prior to that, we did prepare students for what was then the GED, and we had an agreement with Poland that our students would test there. So students would have to go up to Poland and test, and so we started a part-time program in 1999. Adult education across the state is a key to economic growth and stability. It offers people a second chance, a third chance sometimes, fourth chance, and additionally, with the economic and growth plan put out by Governor Mills to have 60% of our population have, or working age population, have a credential of value by 2025. You can rest assured that adult education has been a valuable part in that process to help people build the skills they need to earn a credential or to move on to further education. And then our program as a whole for the last 5 years, maybe with the exception of 2020, has served more than 900 learners annually between all of our programs. So that means enrichment, that means early literacy, college and career readiness, high-step programming, all of them.
There we are. So there's our committee. It was the amazing Stephanie Haskins, our director, our Crackerjack program coordinator, Teresa Boyton. If you haven't worked with Teresa, you are missing something because she's amazing. Me, college and career advisor, Sheila Myhaver, who many of you may know is an amazing teacher. Gary and Penny helped us. Thank you so much for your input. Jade Costello. Jenny Rose is the director in Poland. RSU 16, she helped us a lot. And we actually had an adult education student also share her input. Her name is Cadence Fernald. She really kind of showed us some of the more practical things that we need to pay attention to.
I think she was at the first meeting. We felt pretty confident that if we could get her to the first meeting, that was a complete victory. And we learned from her that she did not like the amount of paperwork that we had to enroll. And then when she found out that it wasn't our choice, that that's the way it went for federal data reporting and everything, then she kind of took the heat off us a little bit for that. But it was adorable. She had some great advice and input to add to the process. So last year in my evaluation with Craig, he set forth a goal to complete a strategic plan for adult education, formalized one. So we convened that committee that we just mentioned. We developed a survey and put out that survey to the community. And we also had our students take the survey, and they weren't as participative in the survey. So we ended up really sitting down and kind of doing more of an interview with them so that we could gather some input and get some insight into their take on our programming and how it is to be a student in adult education at Gray New Gloucester. We used that input to develop mission, vision, and value statements, and then we completed a SWOT analysis, which I don't know if any of you are familiar with the strengths, I guess strengths, challenges. It's supposed to be weaknesses, but we've got a SCOT analysis with our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to determine what we could develop for strategic goals out of that plan. And then from there, I developed some objectives and deliverables for those goals. We already had a mission statement, but from our work, we kind of tweaked it a little bit. It actually got a little bit longer, and if any of you have ever participated in this process, the wordsmithing can be just nauseating. It takes a long time to arrive at what you want to say, but to do it concisely. We felt very strongly about this mission. Gray New Gloucester Adult Education provides opportunities and resources that empower learners to achieve academic, career, and personal success in a supportive, individualized environment. The part that we really felt strongly about adding was the opportunities and resources. And one of the really big services that we offer, and this is a lot with our college and career readiness, is referrals. There are a lot of services out there that people just don't know exist that can help them get back on their feet, help them access training, help them with childcare while they're in training so they can get a sustainable job and career and become self-sufficient. And those are things that our advisors are able to help with. They've also taken on sometimes a case management role in helping folks with becoming with citizenship, with a whole variety of things. So for that, we were very grateful for their work and just felt that we really needed to add the opportunities and resources in there.
Moving forward, we work together to kind of create a vision. We're real happy where we are, but we certainly want to grow and serve more students and really become an even better program. So this is a vision statement that we came up with. We envision a transformative educational community with multiple pathways for adult learners to achieve success, enrich their lives, and develop skills and knowledge for an ever-changing world.
No, I think this, again, this is another one with wordsmithing, and it was really, this was a tricky one again to come to. I think this one was the final one, the last one that we finished. So it kind of took a little bit longer than we had hoped for, but I think where we arrived definitely captures what we would like to see moving forward. This is one I really like as our values statement. We did a values sort, so you start with a whole bunch of values on cards and worked in small groups, and kind of when we thought about adult education, what is it that we value in adult education? What is it that you really look for? And this is where Cadence's support came in, and it really, really resonated when her top choice was connections. And she said, you guys really care that I do well. You guys really care that I succeed, and I feel like it's that connection with you. And that's one of the things that I just really took away from that. So out of that, the words that we came up with, I realize they're not highlighted in the two middle sentences. I'm not sure what happened in translation, but we're empower, future-focused, supportive, optimism, and connections. And so our value statements are: we empower learners to share their stories and set authentic goals. We provide educational experiences that are contemporary, personalized, and future-focused. We model and encourage meaningful relationships in a supportive learning community. We frame our work with optimism and hope. We guide learners in establishing connections to achieve their goals. So once we created these and we we looked at our SCOT analysis, not our SWOT analysis, we came up with 4 strategic goals. The first one is that all learners will receive a high-quality instruction and advising that provides the resources, skills, and knowledge to succeed in their academic, career, and personal goals. I feel like the instruction is I think that's an obvious one. I think the advising, we didn't have a dedicated advisor for several years, and after now having Maureen in this position and having some folks come over and doing some solid training, we have seen as a result that students are coming back who may have graduated a few years ago, and more of our current students are coming back and going into a training right away. So we're not seeing just the high set and done. We're seeing people looking forward, and that is a direct result of having that advising service there, so that we're continuing to follow up. We're continuing when they get partway through the high set to say, hey, have you thought about what you're going to do next? Sometimes when they come to us to get the high set, to earn it, they can't even actually picture themselves being successful. And so this, once they start to see success and reach that end point, then they'll start to look at next steps and say, hey, maybe I can do this. We have students in nursing programs, we have students in early child care, HVAC, library sciences, it just runs the gamut completely. So some of the goals or some of the objectives under this is to increase available instruction and advising time. We currently offer 12 hours per week, and on our federally required testing, their measure is that it takes about 72 hours of instruction to see an increase or one level gain. That's not 1 point, but one level gain, and there are 6 levels. So 12 hours isn't moving that needle very much. We found that with our small program and direct instruction, we can certainly obtain gains in less than 72 hours, but it's something we would like to look at, especially with our increasing number of students. Developing a multilingual learner program. I think that a direct result of what we're seeing in the K-12 or pre-K-12, their parents are here as well. And so offering those programs to help with English language instruction just helps the community and civic involvement. Explore adding a high school diploma option. We currently offer the HiSET, which is the alternative diploma. We do offer credits if you have maybe 1 or 2 credits that you're missing, or a student has 1 or 2 credits that they're missing, but the manpower required to offer diploma would, if you have 5 or 6 credits that you would like to recover, we really need to have more staff, and we need to have more staff that are certified in those high school core subjects so that they can actually grant those credits for students taking the classes. This year, through a Cumberland County grant, we have added on Wednesday night, one of the day social workers has come and is working with our students on Wednesday nights. It's just starting to build and grow traction, and it's been a huge relief to our advisors who maybe were put in a position to try to provide social work, and that was not their role. So having, we actually have Michelle Murley who comes on Wednesday evenings, and she's worked with many of the day students who end up coming our way. So there's a familiarity there, and it is, that has been really, really helpful. And then the other piece is to improve student recognition and achievement. We want to, make sure that our students are making gains and they're getting the best education they can receive, but we also want to make sure we're recognizing them for that. I just recently learned there's apparently an honor society for adult education that I would like to look into and find out how to recognize students, and I want to look around at what other programs are doing. I know that the high school has chords, and I know in our HiSET, we delineate if you pass one of the exams in the college ready, do we maybe start designating a certain number that you can earn chords to march with? Because there are certainly some students who are coming through passing with nearly all perfect scores, and it would be nice to recognize them for those achievements. So.
Our second strategic goal, all learners and staff will be welcomed and supported with high quality, appropriate facilities and equipment that reflect MSAD's 15's commitment to them and to their future success. And Stephanie's broken this down for us a little bit, but that would include appropriate testing and learning environment. We have a small testing room right now. It can get a little noisy at night with sports and whatnot. So, there's some room for growth there. Provide confidential space for advising and for the director. Both Stephanie and I meet with students at times that are going through some pretty personal stuff, some pretty difficult stuff. And honestly, anyone coming in, even to just take an art class or pay for Zumba, can hear every single thing they're saying. So we would love to have space to really be more respectful of those students and their stories. Technology upgrades, I think that's sort of self-explanatory. Our computers are very, very old, very, very slow. The students complain, impacts testing at times. And finally, excuse me, class space. Again, we have official practice tests that students need to take and need a quiet spot, but also students are HiSET testing, and sometimes scheduling those things and trying to find the space for the students is just really challenging, especially when students, a lot of them work full-time and also have really complicated schedules. So these are some of the things we dream of with strategic goal B.
With strategic goal C, Grey New Gloucester Adult Education will provide access to industry-specific workforce training and preparation programs to help learners obtain meaningful employment. This, I think access is a key word here. We're a small program, we are not providing all credentials to everyone, that's just not real. But I think one thing that's great is we do have partners and we work hard to know what programs are out there, and we try to do the programs and offer the programs that we do offer very, very well. So I think that's a key piece. Right now, actually, this will be happening in the next month. We're applying to get our medical assisting and possibly our CNA training to be approved integrated education and training program. What that does on my end is I get to use their credential that they earn at the end, those students, as an official gain on my federal reporting. That's not terribly exciting for you guys. It is for me when I submit my data. But what that also does is we are pretty much already doing this. I just have to write it down. But what an integrated education and training program is there's andragogy for, which is the way you teach for adults. It's different than pedagogy and what you do for children. Adults need to learn the information in as efficient way as possible. They need to get jobs, they need to work, they need to get their information. And so what we do is we actually contextualize their learning. So maybe while someone is learning to be a firefighter, they're also learning, they're also building their English skills by learning that contextualized vocabulary. They're also, we're focusing on reading. So while they're learning the actual material in the training, they're also building reading skills, building skills for soft skills for working, how to work in a workplace. What are our conventions here? What do you do when there's employer-employee conflict? Those are all things that we contextualize and kind of meld together so that it's one program. It does add more time, but it breaks down the silos so that we have them all together. And another example is with our MA students as well. They have dosage and calculations, so we're able to build up their math level so that if someday, what we hope is that by the time they're done with their medical assisting program, that their reading level and math level has increased. So if they want to further their education after that, we have done them a service through that training, that not only did they learn to become an MA, but they also learned how to study. They improved their writing skills, they improved their math skills and their reading skills. And so those are things that we try to contextualize and embed together. I would like to reach out in the near future, and I have done this in the past, and determine if any of our local employers need any training and if we can partner with them and help in any way. I was not successful the last few times I've tried, but I would love to do that again. I think now, since maybe the main goal is to help improve everyone's learning and credential of value, and then also with our low unemployment rate, and good employees are hard to find, and so I think that might be something to reach out and see if we can help. Again, sometimes it's nice for an employer if you pair your high school credentials, say, with their employment, so part of their employment is actually working on that high school credential, then there's huge incentive and students can be more successful while they're doing both. So those are things that are kind of outside the box to think of. The employer's getting a great new employee, and the employee is also getting that time to earn themselves a living and also get that credential. And then evaluate the current workforce program capabilities and ability to grow. I'm currently the workforce person and working with about 7 or 8 different hospitals across the state, and it's getting to be a lot to juggle. It's fine, we'll keep going, but I think it's something that we look at, just kind of look at where this is going. I do worry about funds for these trainings running out in June of 2025, so I'm curious to see where the actual volume of trainings will go once we reach that tricky point. Strategic goal D, Greater New Gloucester Adult Education will effectively collaborate and communicate with stakeholders, Cumberland County Adult Education and Career Development members, affectionately known as Hub 8 by the state, and with the state. So we want to continue to provide the community with opportunities for enrichment and lifelong learning. One of the things that a lot of programs are tossing around is, are we going to get rid of our program catalog? what we learned in that survey is about 80 to 85% of the respondents knew what was going on in adult ed because of that catalog. That's where they got their information. So I'm not a proponent of getting rid of it, but it was nice to see that direct feedback from that survey. Evaluate our current marketing strategies and see where we can possibly reallocate efforts. I know we don't take advantage of our social media as much as we could, but that also, I know that people hire people to do that as a specialty. So what can we do with our capacity to help improve that? Continuously improve our data and reporting processes. This is something the state is always working on. I know that Sadie and Chris, they say garbage in, garbage out. So they were able to take a look at the data and really better represent what's happening at the high school. And I think that's something that we've been working on with the state since Teresa and I got there. And it's an ever refining process as our reporting has changed throughout the years. There was one point where Teresa asked me at the end of the year if I could tell her at the beginning of the year the data that I needed. And I really wished I could, but the state changed it several times throughout the year. So by the end of the year, I was asking for data that we weren't aware we needed to gather at the beginning. But I think they're getting much better at knowing what they need to report, and they've got a real crackerjack up there at the state who has really honed in on that process. So we want to continue those efforts, and then develop and continue our partnerships. I think our district, our towns offer a lot of really great programming, and I want to kind of continue that and continue working with other programs in our communities, as well as our hub and the state to continue to bring solid programming. So with that, does anyone have any questions?
I just have a couple quick ones. Have you made contact with the Unity College folks over at Pineland?
No.
I was going to mention this in my chair report, but our town leaders meeting this last month was to have a tour of Unity College, and they are very motivated. They are designed to provide targeted workforce training at the collegiate level, and they are very motivated to integrate with any other learning communities. And so they talked about, we have spaces to hold trainings, we have, the space thing I think is your biggest opportunity. They mentioned specifically that they would love to, because what they want is to get students on their campus seeing how awesome it is. They're really good at helping kids apply for federal grants and all that kind of stuff. But he mentioned a number of times, they spend something like $17,000 per student on marketing to get them in the door by the time they get in the door. So what he's saying is if you bring a population of students to his campus, he will, give you some stuff that you can use there, in a very normal, transparent way. We're not trying to trick anybody to go to Unity. Right. But he wants to show off what he's got there, and in my opinion, I had no idea the facilities they have. They have amazing virtual learning opportunities with these classrooms that are designed for, the teacher is in the middle and everybody's at home, but it feels like they're right there. They can have blended classrooms, all that sort of stuff. And the whole time I was there, I was like, this is where we should be doing our MA stuff. This is where we should do our CNA stuff.
That is fantastic.
So, it just happened a couple weeks ago, but I think it's, making that connection. Just reach out to them. They'd be thrilled to hear from us. The whole time I was thinking, this is a really good fit for our adult education needs.
That's fantastic.
Any other questions? Misty?
When you had your wish list there, does the state fund your technology upgrades? Like, how does that work if you're saying your students are complaining about their tech? Who do you get money from? How do you do those upgrades?
So
us or them? Is that a good question?
No, it's an excellent question. So we get funding from the local share. We get a state subsidy, which is based on not the number of students we serve. It's based on how much the local share is, plus our subsidy from the prior year. And then we're funded by grants. Our grants that we have are very limited in the scope. The basic ones from the state without going outside are pretty limited in that you can't really buy equipment with those. You can't, like there's one that you can't have any administrative costs. It's basically for advising and teaching. And so those are pretty limited and don't allow the purchase of equipment. So those computers were purchased, the ones that we have right now in our lab, computer lab or our classroom, were purchased when I first got here in 2014 with a grant at that point. One of them has had a hard drive upgrade, and that's the one we love the most because it turns on, and it's like the old dial-up commercial where you turn it on and then you go make the coffee and then you come back and click OK and put in your password and go do other things. We were in the COVID, we did get a little bit of funding for COVID and thought ahead and purchased some new laptops and monitors because the laptops could be lended out because those computers in the lab are no longer suitable to offer the HiSET. So we are now using laptops that we plug into a monitor in our testing room. So those ones are 3 years old now. Almost 4 years old, so we have 3 of those that we use for that testing. So it's really a matter of trying to budget. There's no room in the budget right now, basically, for that sort of thing. So it's not something. One of our programs, the workforce, does sometimes have a surplus. We've ended up with, hospitals have gotten a grant, and even though I asked several times, they did not bill us for the instructor. And so we have ended up with some excess funds there, but those were for workforce, so you're limited. I can't buy HiSET computers with workforce money that's coming, so it's a matter of getting the money from the right pot. But that's part of what we were talking about is not just upgrading the technology, but building a way so that we have that consistent, maybe every few years we kind of upgrade a few pieces so that we can at least keep some new pieces in there. Did that answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of gets into my second piece of feedback, which is, I know nobody likes talking about money, but I think what we need to put in as part of that strategic plan, and it's something that we talk about in the strategic plan for the district as a whole, is we need to try to get creative about alternative funding sources of some kind, right? So we know one funding source, which is the local tax base, and we know what a difficult year it is this year. Naming rights for the alternative ed program. Can we get some, sponsor for that? Can we get donations from Tilson? Can we get, whatever it happens to be. And I know that there's nobody who's like sitting around twiddling their thumbs thinking about things to do, but I think we need to, there's got to be some dedicated outreach to try to get some sort of community funding that goes beyond the tax base, right? There's, we do get some from the hospitals giving us, some instructors, but I've seen the margins at, Maine Health. Maybe they've got a few bucks to help us out with some training funds or whatever it happens to be. We got to beat the bushes because we are providing them with workforce that they need. Can we get some return on our investment from them? I think that's to be part of our consideration. So maybe as part of the strategic plan is, examining alternative funding sources that go beyond asking the government, you know what I mean? Thought from that?
Bake sale?
What's that?
Bake sale? I'm kidding.
I think the bake sale.
I'm kidding. I agree. I think that it's going to help with the new layout at central office and having more capacity because when I go out for grants and when I go out and do that stuff, it creates more work for everyone all the way around. We're probably creating sometimes we're creating probably $8,000 worth of work to get $3,500. That's quite realistic. And so I think with the new structure proposed for central office, I think that will help because it'll increase capacity for dealing with grants. And so I think that's a good thing. I think that as a district, there are many, many years when we held us steady in adult ed, and we did increase last year, which I am eternally grateful for. But I think that we need to look at a way that we are also quite far behind our peers and those who are our size in what the local share is contributing to the program. So I think there's a lot of ways. I don't disagree that we should not look out there and see what there are.
Numbers too, right? So.
Yep, I presented those at the finance committee meeting a year and a half ago.
Oh, a year and a half ago. Okay.
Yeah, I presented those numbers, so I can update those and do that again. But yeah, I think that's something, I think those are pieces, but I agree, we can go out and see what other sources of funding we have.
Other thoughts or questions? Go ahead, Gary.
Along the same lines we were just talking about, I think we tend to forget that adult ed is there. They're sort of a business unto themselves, but they are ours. The idea of 14-year-old computers being used on a regular basis in any kind of lab situation for any kind of education is a little silly. They have to have technology that's adequate to at least do online testing in the same way that we have to have the same consideration in our regular schools for doing online testing. You know, they have to be a certain generation, be a certain, running a certain software. And I think that I feel like we need to have a little more direct support. It's nice to talk about grants and finding alternative funding, but it still comes back to they are our adult ed. This is set 15. You know, we sort of like, oh, the funds of money. No, I think there are certain areas that I think we need to help them address. That's just my opinion. I feel like it's an area that's kind of easy to forget a little bit. I also have another question. Are some of the things that you need help with, I was thinking marketing in specific, is that the kind of thing, I know that our traditional students, our day-to-day students, can't attend your classes. There's a pretty hard little wall that's established between that. But would they be allowed to, let's say, have an extended learning opportunity where their ELO is developing and helping you with a marketing plan?
Absolutely.
Because I would think that that might be a place where you could get some help. It would be a different helper every year.
Yeah.
But it just seems that there's a real world experience there for somebody to take advantage of and get some high school credit for.
Yep.
And you would get some benefit from somebody right here.
Yes.
It's just a thought, and I don't expect you to do it. I'd be happy to bring it up somewhere else.
No, I think it's another thing to, yeah, I think it's definitely something to consider, and certainly would be a great opportunity.
The first thing I thought when you mentioned, marketing thing, right, or that kind of stuff, is that we have students in the school that want to do that.
Right.
I assume.
One's graduating.
I know.
We just heard about marketing major, right?
No, exactly. And here was, you know, a built-in, don't even need to travel, don't have to go to town to get a real world experience right here.
Absolutely.
There's some opportunities if we become more aware and become more sensitive to the fact that you folks are there.
Right.
And here every day working.
I think it's important to mention too, that in my budget, that includes benefits. So when health insurance goes up, that local share plus the subsidy includes, that's the benefits for everything that's paid for out of adult ed is in there. So when year after year, there's no increase that comes from those other things. So it just to note that there's not like I don't get to tap from like an administrator pool of benefit money. That is in my budget. So just to note that as sort of an ongoing struggle. That being said, we're getting great results right now. I think our students are doing great. We sort of set this mission and vision out with dream it and see where you'd like it to go and what would you like this to look like. You know, if there were a newspaper article about you down the road, if there were if, you know, what would you like to see in the future? And that's where we kind of set our work as to where we'd like to see it go. But very conscious of the fact that a lot of that can be done internally and a lot of that is financially bound.
All right, any last things? All right, thank you guys.
Awesome, thank
Appreciate
you so
that.
much for your time.
Sets us up really well for next year, figure out what we want to do. All right, Craig, I think you are up on recruitment and employment of new personnel.
Yes. So, I have both my notes and my glasses. So
there we go.
I sent you this weekend positions that people have begun interviewing for. Point 6 elementary art at Dunn School, combined 3rd and 4th grade at Dunn School. They're interviewing for that tomorrow. Grade 1 teacher at at Memorial School. Point 6 high school gifted and talented. Middle and high school gifted and talented. Middle school art teacher, high school special education teacher, and again, those principals are interviewing, and if you'd like to be part of that interview team for those teaching positions, they'd be happy to have you. Business manager, director of operations and finance, our interviews are Monday, and the interview team on those are myself, Sean Turner, Alicia Griffin, Jeff Robbins, Laura Meek, and we'd like to have another board member. These are two key positions. One is the business manager position, and the other is the director of operations. We have 4 viable candidates. We're beginning at 1 in the afternoon, and with complete protocol 4 interviews, and for the search committee to debrief afterwards, will take us from 1 o'clock till 6:45. And so if you would like to be that second board member, it would be greatly appreciated. We also have transportation supervisor interviews tomorrow. We have 2 strong candidates. One interview first interview is at 4:30, and the second interview is directly afterwards. We do have, if a board member would like to participate, we'd love to have you. And both candidates come from school bus services, so they know exactly what they're getting into. And then we have about 10 Ed Tech 2 positions and 3 Ed Tech 3 positions, and those interviews are ongoing. We usually fill those in the summer because they're a more transient group. A lot of them already have their teaching certificate, so they're looking around for teaching jobs. So a lot of those interviews will take place in the summertime, but we don't normally have board members serve on the support staff interviews. But we find it very helpful to have school board members on those interview committees. I think Will Burrow would do about 20 a year. Gary used to do a lot, but it's a really educational process to go through the teacher interview process. And we'd love to have you if you're available. And that's where we are.
All right, so raise your hand if you're available Monday virtually to Craig or Gary. Raising his hand, is it? Ready to go?
I'll send you supporting information.
That's fantastic. Super important role, and we want to make sure we've got some good board input on it. That's fantastic. I was holding out because my son has baseball, and I'd love to watch it. So thank you very much for raising your hand. And in general, I'm doing the art teacher. I think it's Thursday. I'm going to be on that interview committee. If people can do it, I want to echo what Craig is saying. I find I just learn a ton about what goes on in our schools because the questions that our administrators ask always inform me what's the priority and how it dovetails with our strategic plan. So it's very informative. Anything else on that, Craig?
No, that's it for the time being.
Any questions or thoughts on that? Go ahead, Pat.
One question, on the gifted and talented, we had a full position open, or we back down to 0.6, or is that a different?
I can't remember the fractions on that anymore. We've changed it a few times since I've been here. Can you light us, Shayna?
The 0.6 has been open for quite a while, so it's been 1.6 for a long
Oh,
time.
so we got the one.
Yeah.
We have one
And we need
full-time.
the, got it.
We're trying to fill the points.
We're trying to
I knew
fill
we had the other one. Yep.
Question? Any other questions or thoughts? Okay, let's go into the results of the school board survey on new members.
Okay, so I read the data. It was very interesting. It was very good, and 10 out of 11 responses is fantastic. One thing that I noticed right away was 1/2 of the respondents, 4 of the respondents, 4 of the 10 said they weren't aware of the Maine School Management Fall Conference. I think I sent you the date and time on that. It's in October. It's during the school day. It's during the work day. So I know it's hard for people to get off. However, it is in October, and if you can speak to your boss or whoever you report to, it's my opinion that, and I don't go to a lot of conferences. I used to go to a lot of conferences earlier in my career. It's about 50-50 in terms of quality. Sometimes they're not very good, sometimes they're good. This one is always good. And it's designed for superintendents and school board members. So the topics you will see there are legislators talking about what's going on in the legislation about education bills. You'll have someone from the Maine Department of Education, Finance Department, talking about the EU 279. You'll have someone there from the Department of Labor talking about what earned paid leave means for school departments. I mean, they're kind of in-depth, real, relevant sessions for board members, and they usually last about 90 minutes. So about nod-off time, they're over. But they're really relevant and they're really good. So if you can, and we always budget money for that, and you can easily afford to send 5 or 6 people that would like to go to it. Usually one day is better. There's a full day, which is usually more packed with school board related topics. The second day is good, but it's not as long, but it's more ceremonial. The Minister of Education's there, the Governor's there, that type of thing. But definitely a full day. Fran, I think you went to what, 11 sessions or something? So Thursday, Friday. Yeah. So if you can work it with work, you do it 5 months, that is a very good session. Then the other things that people, that came up often in the survey results was roles and responsibilities, superintendent and school board, a lot more on budget and finance, organizational chart structure, and school board operations. So this is sort of a catch-all, school board operations, committees, processes, Robert's Rules of Order. So sort of a, how does a school board actually work? How do these committees actually work? How does it interplay with the school board? And I think I take some responsibility that that has come up so often. I think we've had a veteran board for a long time, so we operated on a lot of assumptions that people kind of already knew this, but in fact, it is a lot of stuff. And then the other thing was, one person brought this up, and it gets to Maine Laptop Initiative, Maine Learning Technology Initiative, MLTI. There is so much information in this world. How do you find what you need? How do we help board members go to where they need to find out information? If you're going to a personnel committee meeting, or if you're going to a budget meeting, and you're not sure what's going on, and you don't want to raise your hand and interrupt in the middle of the meeting, where can I go to find information? So I think these are all really relevant topics. I think some of them we can tackle during the organizational meeting that we do in the summer, which is something we should schedule soon. And then maybe have, how do we want to do this next year? Do we want to, you have the organizational meeting, you have the fall conference, which I think is really good. And then maybe on a Wednesday, have a Wednesday workshop day in the fall, and maybe one in the spring. I'm throwing it out there. What kind of sessions would you like? Would you want the whole board to participate in all of them? Do you want me to come up with 5 or 6 different topics, and you can just attend if you want or not? So I was hoping you came with some ideas on how we could offer some of this PD for the board.
All right, we can open that up for discussion. I think one piece of it needs to be this idea that Adam has had for a sort of welcome binder of some kind, and maybe that's digital. I think we've kind of relied on the big, thick books that we give people, and I just think they're not quite targeted enough. We can't really expect people to just plow through 300 words, 300 pages, and understand which parts are most relevant to what we're doing. So I think some sort of, it doesn't have to be a physical binder, but maybe it, would be helpful. Just something that's a little bit more bullet point oriented and a little bit more targeted towards what we actually do, our schedule, our budget schedule, that kind of thing. It makes a lot of sense to me. I'm a little hesitant to sort of get into scheduling, only because only next year's chair can actually do any scheduling, but I think people should expect to have some sort of workshop over the summer. We have used that for professional development. We also need to do more board self-reflection, and I think part of our sort of operations should also involve, maybe it's a half an hour or it's a survey, whatever it happens to be. We don't do enough evaluating of ourselves, and that's on me, if anything. I think we need to do a better job of getting feedback on what we do well and what we do. A little SCOT analysis of the board itself. I saw you, Jason.
I just wanted to kind of tag on your first suggestion there, that like digital binder. I think that has a lot of value beyond the school board. If we make it publicly available, it would help people understand what we do, and anyone who is even interested in getting involved, they can read about it and understand what they're getting themselves into, and even before getting involved. So we might remove some of those barriers of people getting involved in the school. So I think that suggestion has a lot of value.
Other thoughts? Maybe format? I mean, nobody likes to have a lawyer yap at them for an hour. Any thoughts on format for how we're going to do some of this learning? Go ahead, Gary.
One of the thoughts I had was that one of the questions in that survey was whether we wanted to do like a big long day or multiple small ones. I would advocate for multiple small ones, in that I think that a lot of these things are pretty heavy details and stuff. Some more than others, and I just think it's human nature that you start off really enthusiastic, and the first couple topics get a lot of attention, a lot of great discussion. the longer the day goes on, the less enthusiastic you are about the detail. I think that maybe some of that initial energy and enthusiasm could be maintained better if we grabbed them in smaller pieces. And I know it means multiple meetings. We don't want to have multiple meetings, but at the same time, I just think they might be.
Well, I think they could also be part of, we have our workshops traditionally on that third Wednesday. It might just be that we need to reserve a 20-minute or a half an hour agenda item for each one of those. Do that, then get on with the business of that workshop. We tend to make those workshops sort of single topic, and that might be a way to spread it out. It's a good idea.
So, one other thought I had, we might already have this training for all of our employees here, but I think it would be a good training for everyone on the board, and that is something addressing, security, digital security, things like that. How to stay safe, how to protect our data, how to protect, because sometimes we're dealing with some confidential information, sometimes we're dealing with access to resources and making sure that we can protect that. And a lot of that comes down to our behaviors with our devices and online.
I think that's a great idea, especially with us all using issued devices. You want to make sure. And actually, just the basic training on our website is probably part of it. Craig talked about where to find the information. It is all there, but that doesn't mean everybody knows where to find it.
A lot of it is in search. Really easily accessible.
Yeah. For me, after 9 years, I'm like, well, it's right there. But obviously, I've had some training by fire, so yeah. I think we could do that. Other thoughts on that? I think that's all good stuff. All right, let's move into the report on the Elementary and Secondary Education Act Title Grant allocations.
I get them all warmed up for you.
So excited. So every year, as part of our title grant funding, we should, because it's good practice, but we're also required to have public notice and information about what our title grant allocations are, what we are intending to do with that money, and give an opportunity for people to give feedback as part of our application. So we talked about this in curriculum committee a number of months ago. We sort of went over the details of that. That's when that open comment period started. We did not have allocations at that time. The allocations from the state were significantly delayed this year. There was a funding bill at the federal level that was delayed, that delayed the allocations to the state, that then delayed the allocations to us. So we just received our allocations just in the last week. Given that you all voted on our budget about a week before we got our allocations, that's maybe not the most ideal timeline, but we're making it work. So I've provided for you, the cover sheet is the most important document, which includes the 4 titles that we receive, Title 1A, Title 2, Title 4, and Title 5. You will see a quick little note about what we generally use that funding for. You will see our allocations from 23-24, and then you can see our preliminary fiscal allocations for the 24-25 school year. I will say these are the preliminary numbers, and in fact, the Title I numbers have been updated since we sent this out to you a couple of days ago. Our updated allocation for Title I funding is now $291,549.68, hot off the presses. That will change a few more times before they land on the final numbers. We do not have a date for when they plan to land on the final numbers.
Wait, is the 291 better than the 272 or
Correct.
Worse than the 337?
The 291 is better than the 272.
Okay.
So we're up a little under 20,000.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. Generally, when they start to tinker with it and get to the final allocation, it's not usually lower. It's very rarely lower. Never say never. It's very rarely lower.
Adjustment that happened like today.
What was that?
Is that the adjustment that happened today?
They released, this adjustment was posted late last night. And this is Title I, they have not adjusted any of the other ones yet. So, fun things about, if you are bored or you're very interested, the following 6 pages I have provided for you give great detail about what these grants are for, how they can be used. As you can imagine, as federal funding, the rules on how and when we can use this money is highly regulated. So I tried to provide a little bit of information there for people who are interested. For us, you can then also move money in between titles. So if you don't want to spend it under the rules of one title, you can move it to another and spend it under the rules of that title. For us, generally, we move our Title IV completely into Title I. The rules to use Title IV funding are extremely difficult, particularly given the very small amount of money that we get. You have to spend certain percentages on certain things. It's very difficult, and it does not generally contribute in a meaningful way to achieving our strategic plan. So we move that into Title I, where we feel we are doing that a little, where we have a better option to do that. So what you'll see here is, again, like our initial thoughts about how we're going to move our money in between titles. You'll see across the board we're down just a little bit. In particular, in Title I, the state took a pretty big hit in what they usually get. I think they're down a little over 3% compared to what they got the year before. I think they said getting close to $2.5 million less. $2.5 million less than they usually do. So that's reflected in our numbers. After that, it's just sort of like a little bit up or down. That's reflected a little bit because our population is getting smaller. When your population gets smaller, you get less money. So that's just kind of how that's going to roll. From a standpoint of, does this mean we can continue to do what we think we could do because we're getting less money, and as you know, our personnel costs continue to go up. We do think we're going to be okay. Diane and I have done a little bit with this. As I said, these numbers are hot off the presses. We're still sort of digging through what they mean. We think we're going to be okay. We had a couple of positions funded in Title Grant that were open for periods of time during this year. So we can use what's called carryover. That means you spend last year's money, you spend this year's money in next year's time period. So we think we're going to have some carryover money that we can use to supplement that. Additionally, we've had a couple of retirements and a couple of folks move on who we expect we would replace a little lower on the pay scale. They were long, fantastic, long-time employees, but chances are that means our costs are going to be a little bit less than they were in the current year. So we think we're going to be okay. I'll be back if we're not, but we're fairly confident we're going to be okay. Generally, what we spend this money on is intervention. That's what we spend the vast majority of it on. Some of our intervention teachers, intervention ed techs, family engagement, as well as response to intervention tools and activities. We also fund our PPPG teacher leaders, those folks overseeing the evaluation system in the district. The MTSSB stipend, so those stipends that we're working on putting in our behavior systems in all of our schools, we had been funding out of ESSER funds. With ESSER going away, we believe we can migrate that into Title II. We think we do have, it is an allowable expense under Title II, and we believe we have some option there. We have some money left in Title II from the last couple of years. We keep budgeting for things that then the state then gives us other money for, so, which I'm very thankful for, but it's tough when you've made a plan and then you have to make it up again. So we've got some room there. We should be okay. And then Title V, again, intervention ed techs. That is what we intend to invest our money in. We are very interested in hearing feedback from people about that. You can email myself or call my office or any of the principals of the pre-K through 4 schools, Dunn School, Russell School, and Memorial School. Share with those principals any thoughts that you have about how we are using our Title Grant funds. We ask to receive that feedback no later than June 1st, so that then we can use it to incorporate into our application that usually opens around that time. So we don't often get feedback, but I'd love to hear from you if you have thoughts.
Well, does the board have any feedback? I know it's all a little big. Is there any feedback you would like from us?
I don't think so. This has been our approach around our title funds for a long time. Every time we do a new strategic plan, we make sure that this work is contributing towards that. So I feel like we have been on the right path with that spending. You know, if we had a big windfall, we'd probably be back here asking, okay, so what do we want to do with this? But that's not where we are. So.
And so, you know, it seems like you and Diane have it figured out, but there are no promises that we've made to the community that we'll be unable to keep to this funding level.
I don't think so. And then additionally, the positions that we do fund out of this money, a number of them are open right now. So if things got really bad, we would have a little flexibility with that. It is probably the last ditch effort. We definitely would not want that to happen. These staff are integral to making sure our kiddos are where they are and getting results like Sadie shared earlier tonight. So we really think it's going to be okay, but we do have a little bit of flexibility in unfilled positions if things really go sideways.
Excellent. Any other questions or thoughts on this? All right. Well, thank you, Chanda. Appreciate it. We have fulfilled our governmental obligations. We just look to fulfill our governmental obligations. Okay.
Lions are us.
Excellent. All right. Next up is a discussion of adding a warrant article to our May 16 meeting. This is something that we added yesterday to the agenda because we had a meeting with the engineers and the architects on Friday about where we are in terms of taking the bond committee's plan and executing it and getting all of the final drawings that we'll need and all of the posters and all that sort of thing. As you'll remember, we had allocated $25,000 last year. We had a little bit of money left over from that, about 12.5. We have spent that, they need some more money to continue the plans that we need and then support us through the eventual vote that we've decided is going to be in September. I think that the best place to get that money is out of our capital reserve fund. We have $2.1 million in our capital reserve fund. I think this is what the capital reserve fund is for. There's no way, when you look at what the bond committee is looking for in terms of whole new gym, whole new theater, reconfigured fields, all that sort of thing, $12,500 for engineering is never going to get it all the way over the finish line. What I would like to do, because the capital fund requires a public vote to take money out of it, is add it to the public meeting that we already have, and just have it be another article on our May 16 town meeting. That way we can discuss it in front of the public when we're discussing all the other things that we're discussing in front of the public. That should give us enough money. So we did get a schedule from the architects. What this will cover is all the rest of the end user meetings. We had some this week just to iron out details. We heard the facilities, where are the connecting electrical boxes and which lighting things we're going to connect into. They came in and they've had a lot of meetings. This will get us through engineering review, concept plan refinement, the exterior elevations. They have to come and do some concept floor plans. This will get us all of the renderings, the pretty pictures that tells people how we're going to do this. And this also covers their attendance at our public meetings. They say that they estimate between 65 and 80K. And so I just wanted to authorize the use of 100K so that we don't wind up, 10 grand short and have to come back and ask people again. Just as we authorize the use of the money doesn't mean that we actually have to use it all. But that what we would do is ask for authorization of 100K out of the capital reserve. So if that sounds like a smart thing to do, I would entertain a motion to add that warrant article.
I move that we include warrant article 18.
That is 18, yes.
The expenditure of up to $200,000 from the existing capital reserve funds to pay the cost of ongoing architectural and engineering studies. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? All right. All in favor? Opposed? Just on principle?
Just two.
What? Who else is opposed?
Huh?
Someone else was opposed?
I thought she had me in her opposition. No, I voted.
Yeah. Did you vote for or against?
For.
I thought creation was like.
Oh, no, sorry if I did that wrong.
We're on a delay.
All right. 10 to 1. All right. You got that, Maggie?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, now going into this is going to take a little while, so we have to read off these motions. But we agreed to the overall number at our last meeting. Now we have to agree to actually create these warrant articles. The first question that I will entertain a motion on is whether we'd like for these articles to be open or closed. And for those who might be new to the board and don't know what that means, if we move that our articles are open, that means that the public would have the opportunity to raise the number either higher or lower. If they are closed, they can only be moved lower. Traditionally, we have gone with closed, and that is, sort of risk avoidance. We don't know, we have to raise more taxes, that would be kind of beyond what we had planned. But if people, if someone wants to make a motion for them to be open, we can talk about that in discussion as well. Just want to make sure everybody knows what those terms mean.
I make a motion that we choose the closed format.
Second. Thank you. Any further discussion on that? All right, all in favor? Thank you, Fran. All right, next up is to approve the warrant for the budget meeting. Yeah.
I move that the warrant for the Maine School Administrative District 15, the district budget meeting presented to the meeting be approved, and that a district budget meeting be called for May 16, 2024 for the purpose of voting on the annual budget for the district for 2024-2025 fiscal year. Second.
Thank you. Do we have those articles in our packet?
Yes.
Right, so just making sure everybody had a chance. I'm just gonna read them off, right? Article 1 would be 13,317,961. Article 2, 6,874,909. Article 3, 0. Article 4, 1,030,129. Article 5, 3,304,746. Article 6, 1,102,136. Article 7, 1,722,700. Article 8, 1,918,697. Article 9, 3,431,928. Article 10, 536,574. 0 for Article 11. Article 12 has all of those rolled up into how much we're going to raise. Article 13 raises for the debt service. Article 14 appropriates $5,764,000 additional local funds. And we will have an article tacked on to the end of this. And then Article 15 summarizes the proposed school budget. We authorize the expenditure of grants and other receipts in Article 16. Article 17 authorizes the $100,000 for our local share of the adult education, and Article 18 would be for the $100,000 that we just approved from capital reserves. So any questions about any of the articles? All right, all in favor? Opposed? That's 10-1. Okay, next up.
Okay, I move that the warrant and notice for election for the district budget validation referendum presented to the meeting be approved, and that a district budget validation referendum be called for June 12th, 2024 for the purpose of approving the budget adopted at the district budget meeting for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Second.
All right, and that just sets the date for the actual election with the town's administrator for us. Any questions on that? All right, all in favor? Opposed? Brandon, are you abstaining?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is all about.
It just sets the date of our election for the referendum.
Pardon?
It sets the date for the election.
Oh, the date? Okay.
That's unanimous.
All right, I move that the notice of amounts adopted at budget meeting presented to this meeting be approved, and the superintendent of schools of the district be authorized and directed to complete said notice in accordance with the district budget meeting on May 16, 2024, and to cause copies of said notice as completed to be delivered to the municipal clerks of each municipality of the district for posting at the polling places for the June 12, 2024 district budget validation referendum.
All right, any questions on that? It just says Craig has to do his job. All right, all in favor? Opposed? Excellent, okay. Now you want us to sign those now?
You can sign them now or right before the executive session.
Let's just do it now so that when we go into the executive session, everything's all set.
Okay. So the big thing is just make sure that you sign on the same line on every form. In my pen, or I have Matthew.
So we have to sign 3 different pieces of paper?
Yes.
4.
No, that's just
That just,
Actually, this is 48 hours.
so.
Maggie, I think it says that we're in Gloucester, and on that other piece of paper, like, can you just cross that out?
Yeah.
I don't want to be signing incorrect stuff.
That was space on and they rented. Without altering the.
Yeah, I've been there for performance and for training.
So that's possible, just.
You're welcome.
I have to see it with that in mind, like I know I've been there.
Because if you look on that store, it doesn't say under street. It was a flat floor. It built more It's that you run it still.
Oh, I think it's like.
I think I'm all set.
All set? Thank you, Maggie. All right, everybody ready to move forward?
Yep.
Okay. Let's move into our committees report, facilities committee.
We met just tonight, so I'm just trying to organize my notes, obviously, since I just did them. So the old business, obviously, update on the bond project. We are due to receive our plans back from architecture. We have a May 17th meeting of select people that Craig has chosen, and then from the bond committee as well to be a part of that. And that's just to put plan over plan to make sure everything that we've asked for is there. If they haven't missed anything, just to make sure that all of our asks are there and nothing that we haven't asked for is there. And then Craig gave us an update on both topics or both bonds. The first would be, well, for the bond, I think for the renovation bond, we'll have our final meeting with them on the 17th. And then we'll have a stakeholder meeting, going over the cafeteria, the stage, the gym during the end of April, beginning of May. The school board will vote on the bond project at the next meeting. School boards will set the referendum date, presumably in September, which will pair with our air quality referendum. And then we'll have a ballot referendum process paired with the above. And then on the air quality, we had to do a letter to Ann Panett for the extension, which we just got approved for most recently, that he reported to us tonight. That bond bank application was due on July 31st, which we did that. The town must provide us with various information to complete the bond bank application. Diane will complete that by June 30th. School board will choose a referendum date. Once that date is set, the process will take 45 days. School board will deliver the warrants to the town clerk at least 30 days before the referendum. And then we'll meet with our attorneys to go over the warrant language. We want how many different parks do we want to submit them in? Do we want to break them up? Do we want to combine different things? There's lots of options for presenting them to the public. And then the project renovation must be completed by September of 2025. And then that wrapped up those two bond topics. And then new business ongoing, we got a report from the admin team on, there was a list of items that they gave us last meeting, which I read off to you of all of what we're going to be doing with our remaining capital for this year and for factoring in next year's budget as well. And then they went through all of those items and gave us final numbers on those, which I'm going to submit with my report. I'm going to forward you that. I can submit it with my minutes. Everything was covered in that, so there's nothing missing. I compared apples to apples. Everything is there. And then at the end of the meeting, we had a few more minutes, so we brought up buses, and people asked about longevity, and are we keeping track of all of those for prolonging their life? Obviously, we put off buying another bus this year due to budget constraints and cutbacks. So that was a good question about making sure we're prolonging them. Obviously, we had an interview with our two candidates for transportation supervisor tomorrow, and that person's job will be, this will be on their to-do list, is to make sure that our buses are being kept up as far as maintenance is concerned. And then Tom is working on the master library system, is that what it's called? Inputting all of our facilities information and bus information, actually all of our vehicles, all of the plow trucks, all of that material, all of the equipment that we own, putting that into the system to make sure maintenance is being done on a regular basis. And then I brought up, because I didn't want it to fall off the to-do list, about electric buses, because obviously that's coming down the line and we don't want to be the last to do this. And we do know that we can maintain one bus within our electrical outlets and circuits, so we can manage one, but again, that new person will be in charge of getting this grant rolling, do all the research that's needed, how many miles can we get out of bus, obviously we have such long routes, that we probably can't use one for, picking up kids and bringing them to school in the morning and afternoon, but they can be used for things like sporting events and other things like that to save us on fuel. And it was a pretty great meeting, but that was it, and then we adjourned.
Thank you. Any questions on any of that? All right. Finance, I don't think we have anything to report other than what we talked about last meeting.
We met 2 weeks ago, but we talked about it all last week.
Right. Perfect. Personnel, we have anything to add?
I think we went over this.
I don't think we
last
went
week, so I'll go over it. So our last meeting, we actually got to start off with a little bit of a treat. We got to watch the bus driver employee advertisement that students here made under the guidance of Mr. Lamoureux, so that was really nice. That was great for us to see. Then we went into discussion, really getting an update on the Director of Operations and Business Manager search. At the time, it didn't seem to be as lucrative as it is right now. It sounds like it's much more lucrative now. So more recent information given in tonight's meeting. Transition consultation needs of central office. That was Dr. King informing us that he may be asking for us to approve a stipend for Ms. Boucher to act as a consultant during a transition with the two new positions, the Director of Operations and Business Finance. That was tossed out as a future possibility at that time. So no action, just kind of a heads up on that at that time. Non-bargaining agreements, we got an update on changes to the non-bargaining agreements. We have the new contract that we negotiated. Along with that, we have some non-bargaining agreements as well. The update that we received is that the changes to those were by and large just consistent with the changes in our support contract. We had a staffing recruitment update. At that time, EdTechs, I think there were 8 EdTech positions open, the Director of Operations Finance, Business Manager, and a teacher. The list is different tonight, as is always happening with personnel. And then school counselor, we wanted to make sure and kind of follow up on something that was discussed a while back. And that was a title change from guidance counselor to school counselor that we found out has been completed. So there are some other documents here and there that we're probably going to run into where the nomenclature is not correct.
Excellent. Any questions on any of that?
There was something else we had talked about, and that is giving an update on the superintendent evaluation process.
Yes.
All right. So just to let everyone know where we are with that, we have what we've completed at this point. Superintendent's completed his self-evaluation. We did have the administrators fill out forms as part of a 360 evaluation for the superintendent. All of that information has been aggregated and distributed to the board, as well as all of the artifacts and the forms for completing our evaluation. So that's been completed at this point. What's left to happen, the board needs to complete their forms by the end of this week. This coming Sunday/Monday, those responses will be aggregated, distributed back to the board for possible discussion. If we decide we want to have discussion on that, then we will have an executive session meeting on, I think we were talking about Thursday after the town meeting, Thursday the 16th after the town meeting, if needed. And then we will deliver the evaluation to the superintendent at the next business meeting. I put next business meeting in case we have one before June 3rd. We can do it earlier, otherwise we can probably do it in June 3rd. So that's where we are.
Great. Any questions about any of that? All right, we will have an executive session tonight where we're going to talk about a couple of the details, just to make sure everyone knows exactly what's going on. All right, we're
curriculum. Okay, we had our last meeting March 20th, was updated at the last business meeting on April 3rd. Our next meeting is the 15th, so nothing to report for this meeting.
Thanks so much. Policy.
All right, everything discussed at policy at our last meeting was tabled for later. For the May meeting, several policies around community use of school facilities and procedure, which hasn't been reviewed in some time, and the fee schedules associated are looking for some review. So given the depth of that project and making sure that we get weigh in our facilities and do some research on what other area of districts are charging these days. So we're going to look at that next meeting when there's been more time. And then the co-curricular activities code of conduct for middle and high school students, routine update, some changes around, suggested changes on including the registered nurse as a potential support for students who might need some resources around drug or alcohol use, and want to make sure that that conversation happens ahead of implementing a policy without engaging the right folks. So that is also tabled for May. And we will get back together on May 22nd here in the library for anyone who's excited about those topics.
Thank you. Any questions about any of that? All right. Moving into the chair report. You heard me talk about it a little bit with adult education, but we did have a joint leaders meeting on the Pineland campus. 2 meetings ago, one of the things that everybody, joint leaders meetings, just as a reminder, it is me and Craig, the town managers of both towns, and the council chairs of both towns, or select board chair, as the case may be. We just get together to make sure that we're sharing information. 2 meetings ago, we just were talking about how the Pineland campus is really a hub for both communities. Is there a way with Dunn School right across to sort of collaborate more with them? We already do. Pineland lets us ice skate there and all sorts of fun things. The Chief Executive Officer of Unity College invited us to come get a tour of what they're doing there. We were all excited about that, in that we just didn't know anything about it. This is a major new player in the 2 towns, so it was a real cool opportunity just to see what they're doing. I personally had no idea. Unity College is now the largest college in the state of Maine by enrollment, which I had no idea. No? They're bigger than UMaine in terms of number of students.
I think it was private.
It was private?
Because it's 7,500 students online, and it's more than 7,500.
Undergrad?
I'm pretty sure it's private.
All right, well, it's not as impressive.
Well, they differentiate college and university.
They're pretty big though.
Regardless, they are large. They talk about being the biggest. Something is potentially the private school and not the overall school.
This was the PR tour.
Yes, he was talking big numbers. But basically, they renovated the inside of a number of those buildings in a way that I didn't realize. They have beautiful chemistry labs that they showed us, like I was saying, really nice virtual learning labs, and they have just much better facilities than I had any idea were in Pineland. And they're looking for collaboration, whether they can do professional development for our teachers there, or whether our students can get involved in some internships there, whatever it happens to be. They're just very eager, but I think what they're more interested in is collaborating with both towns and the district on finding some solutions to some of the bigger problems that all of us are having, like housing. Right? They say they could hire 100 people tomorrow, but they have no place to put them. So they've had a struggle with recruitment, much like us. We have new teachers living in Livermore Falls because they can't find a place to live in Greater Gloucester. How might, and I have no idea, how might the three of our political entities team up to try to spur housing, to spur public transportation that will allow people to get here a little more easily. You know, if we do something like consolidate the elementary schools, is there a way to team up with the towns and Pineland and you know, really make that area a hub where we own that land next to the Dunn School? Definitely there were no decisions being made. There was a lot of complaining about all the things that we really wish were better. It was really funny, the CEO of Unity kept saying, you know, the people that we're hiring can't afford $500,000 homes. And I was like, well, neither can anybody who lives here, actually, as far as I can tell. It's just, you know, the housing prices have gone so crazy recently. But it does make it really difficult to recruit, you know, young families to work at any of the places that need workers here in Gloucester. So I just thought it was a very enlightening and productive conversation, and I would just encourage the board and Craig and our administration to just keep them top of mind. If there is you know, a way that we can find a mutually beneficial relationship with them, they seem eager to be part of our community. So I was really impressed. That's all I got. Craig, superintendent report.
New hires, Catherine Sandville at Tech 2 at the Dunn School. Resignation, Allison Roberts, teacher, Memorial School, August 2024. Thomas Parker, special education teacher, August 2024. Transfers, Tesla Benson has transferred from a grade 2 teacher, the one year-only position, to an Ed Tech 2 position at the Memorial School. That'll happen August 24. Retirement, Donna Skilling, Ed Tech 2 at Memorial School. And I spoke to Ms. Skilling about this last year. I cannot remember if she's finishing her 34th or 35th year with the school district. And yeah. And executive session.
Well, I also just to pile on that, I want to remind everybody that we do have a retirement ceremony for all of our retiring employees in the hour right before our last business meeting in June. I encourage you guys to make some time to come to that. It's always great to hear about the people who have given us 30, 35, 40 years sometimes of their lives. We give them a little present. The administrators make great speeches. It's just a really heartening time period. So if anybody can carve out the time for that, I really encourage you to come.
That's great snacks.
There are, actually, yes, there are always really good snacks. The Lewiston Bakery usually comes into play.
And it's on Monday, not Wednesday.
That's right, it's on Monday that week. We are not on Wednesday, that first Monday of June. Graduation is on Wednesday.
Which is also really nice to come to. Graduation. I didn't take my allergy medicines, but Sam's all free to about it. Experiment with allergy medicines failed, but attending the graduation as a board member was really cool.
Yes, and we should all probably get invites to that.
Yeah, they'll send you a formal invite. They're in the, it's at the Civic Center, which when I first came to this district, I thought, oh, that's very impersonal, but they're great. 16 school districts get together, we share all the costs. The sound is perfect, the seating's perfect, runs like clockwork, it's 90 minutes, the kids look great. So if you have a penchant to go to a graduation, they are very nice.
The speeches from the valedictorian and salutatorian are always really great. Look forward to it.
How long do they run usually?
90 minutes, start to finish.
Yeah.
They get
Wow.
They move it along.
They get it down to a science.
Yeah, it's really impressive.
I was expecting like 3 hours.
Oh, no. And what's great about the Civic Center is we don't have to worry about like each kid gets 2 tickets or any of that type of stuff. It's come one, come all. It's awesome. All right, I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
I move we enter into executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A with possible action.
All right, any